Here, this will serve as a good spot to cross over.
Arlecchino, hold up a second. Since you brought us all this way, would you mind telling us what you've got planned? We still haven't got the slightest idea what's going on here. And if even Columbina doesn't know where the iridescent moon's marrow is, how do you?
Simple. Because I am an inheritor of the royal bloodline of the Crimson Moon, and one of the last surviving embers of the Two Worlds' flames.
Huh? Are you serious? Isn't you're a descendant of that Crimson Moon dynasty we were just talking about? The one from ancient Conria?
Your surprise is understandable. I was also taken aback when I first learned of it. But the more I thought about it, the more I realized the signs had been there all along. When I was young, I discovered I could wield a very special kind of fire. It coursed like blood through my veins and smoldered away inside my nerves. What's more, whenever I experienced strong bursts of emotion or drew too deeply on this power, it was like some kind of presence within the fire would begin to gnaw away at me, consuming me from the inside out. Exactly. That is why my hands are like this, too. At first, I saw it only as a curse, but once I became a Harbinger, the Jester apprised me of the truth. Together with my own investigations, over the past few years, there are several things that I have gradually come to understand. For instance, take the so-called Crimson Moon. In truth, it is nothing more than the shattered remnants of the iridescent moon, fused with the abyss to prolong its lifespan. Since this blood flame was bestowed upon me by the Crimson Moon, it is a fusion of the iridescent moon's former power and the corruption of the abyss. You all understand the nature of the abyss well enough. I draw upon its power, and in return, it hungers for my soul. This strange blackness is the mark of corruption it has left behind.
If I recall correctly, you once told me that if the corruption ever made it to your heart, you'd become a completely different person.
Yes, and that's the reason I'm always careful not to push my power too far. It's essentially a never-ending tug-of-war.
Whew. Sounds intense.
Anyway, the rest of my story can wait. Is there anything else about the Crimson Moon or the iridescent moon that you're unclear about?
Paimon has a question. So, the Crimson Moon that the Carians used to worship was actually the iridescent moon, right? Which was one of the three moon sisters. Does that mean that the Carians were to the Crimson Moon as the Frost Moon Scions are to the Frost Moon?
So much of that history has been lost. We have no way of knowing exactly what they were like. But I would suspect that the Conrians weren't as devout in their moon worship as it might appear. The iridescent moon's remains simply served as their link to the abyss. Later on, perhaps someone discovered a way to make direct contact with the abyss. Or maybe there was some kind of ideological divide. Either way, a dissenting faction staged a coup and drove out the royal heirs of the Crimson Moon dynasty. Still, even with the dark sun looming high overhead, the Crimson Moon's glow never truly faded. If you want living proof, it's standing right before you.
The first time we met, I sensed something familiar in your presence. When I looked at you, I felt I could see that mysterious red moon in the corner of my eye. In your flames, I saw its broken image, surrounded by a strange black aura.
Well, I appreciate that you kept it to yourself. Much about the Crimson Moon is still a mystery, and I'd prefer not to end up as the object of an insane research project. Anyway, time is against us here, so if there's any other questions, they'll have to wait. I just want to make sure I've got one thing straight. In her letters, Sandrone mentioned that since you are unable to contain the iridescent moon's marrow yourself, you intend to leave it in my custody. Correct?
That's right. For now, it's the only way I can pay you back for your help. The iridescent moon is already part of who you are, so with its marrow in your possession, you'll be even more powerful than before.
Deal. Then let's get started.
Get what started? What does this place have to do with the Crimson Moon?
When I first became a Harbinger, the Jester gave me a book called Harry, also known as Leobranto Innamorato. You should be able to buy a copy next time you're in Fontaine. It's a love story set in the Crimson Moon-A, but setting aside the tangled romances of its characters, it also records a few interesting details. In the Crimson Moon-A, or so the story goes, there was an orphanage that received children from beyond the bounds of this world, and subjected them to a peculiar induction ceremony.
Beyond the bounds of this world? For real? And what kind of induction ceremony?
The Crimson Moon sages looked beyond this world for beings with powers that surpassed the gods. But fearing they might lose control, they subjected these children to a process of refinement. They made these children crawl up a fireplace and kept asking them, "Have you died? Did you see it?" Until they finally admitted to having died and seen a crimson moon. The adults embraced the children who passed the ritual, telling them, "Within the fireplace, you have traversed the flames between two worlds. Here and now, you are born anew." The book leaves much unsaid, but I suspect that this was their way of branding the children they had enrolled, leaving an indelible mark upon them so that they would forever live in the Crimson Moon's light.
That explains why I can't sense the Crimson Moon's marrow in this world. It makes sense that it would be sealed in a special space that can only be accessed temporarily through some kind of ritual.
But there's no fireplace here. Do you see a chimney anywhere? Oh, are we supposed to build it ourselves? Okay, fine. Paimon will go find some bricks.
That won't be necessary. The fireplace is purely symbolic. The key to the ritual is crossing the flames between two worlds. In other words, the flames that burn within me. Those burned away by such flames leave behind a kind of ghostly afterimage in the world. In the days of Conria, people believed they could be used to bridge the gap between the two worlds of life and death. In short, I can open a passage to that space for you. That's the easy part. The catch is I'll need to stay on this side to keep the passage open, so I won't be able to come with you. Once you're inside, you'll have to find your own way. Very well. Then I'll open it up.
Traveler, spare me a little more moonlight if you would. I may need it. Thank you. I feel like I've recovered some of my strength now. It should be enough to move us across short distances and confront whatever dangers might await.
Mistress of the seven hues of ages past, great mother of the present, crimson-clad sovereign of the two realms, by fire severed, by fire renewed, I offer myself now and beseech your descent. One word of advice as you're crossing over. No matter what voices you hear, do not answer.
Got it.
I sense a sinister gloom inside, but also the familiar light of the moon. I feel that I am about to meet an old friend who has changed beyond all recognition.